Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at the high-grade Gundam ROSE from G-Gundam. Now, this, as you can tell from the color of the box, it's a premium Bandai exclusive kit. And when I say exclusive, this is another exclusive from the ground-up premium Bandai kit, which means it doesn't feel like a mainstream Gundam kit really much at all. But yeah, if you do want to grab one of your own, you find it hard to find, you can get yours always where I found mine, and that is over on BUYEE. I'll drop the link, as usual, down in the description. Now let's check it out. So jumping into the aesthetics, I'm going to get right to a point I just made a second ago, and that is, this does not feel or necessarily look like a standard gunpla release at all. This really does put the premium in premium Bandai. Now, winding back a little bit, there's been kits like this before, specifically the Master Grade Gundam F90. Doesn't feel at all like a standard Master Grade, and it's got vivid, eye-popping colors. They're just so strong. And like I mentioned, in a way, standard Bandai kits are not. So yeah, jumping into the full 360 spin of this looks astounding. I'm not sure if the video will do the colors on this justice at all. They might even be a little bit too strong for some people's tastes. It does almost have a very vivid, toy-ish feel to it, but I guess that does match very well with the over-the-top G-Gundam aesthetic. Now, the vast majority of all of the plastic on this features an almost full high gloss sheen. So I just got, finished up doing a review of a Witch from Mercury kit right there. Those are made out of almost a more expanded feeling polystyrene that has a bit of a kind of matte hue to them, or matte finish to them. This is a heavier plastic kit. It actually even feels different in the hand. Now, this isn't, it kind of feels a little bit more classic when it comes to gunpla than those kits are, but this does not have polycaps in its build either, so it is extremely rock solid. This is like nothing I've ever built before. So when it does come to the individual colors on this kit, they're all extremely popping. The color separation is impressive as well, a little bit on the classic style. For example, you won't get color separated eyes on this, and we've got the very nice yellow, extremely bright blue. The red looks absolutely fantastic. The color separation in the legs is ridiculous, coming through from an under layer. And we've got a very interesting V-fin on this. And well, it's not just the V-fin on this that is absolutely unique style-wise, the whole thing is, extremely G-Gundam. As for the breakdown, the stickers, number 1 right there, those are for your standard eye stickers. Number 3, that tiny green one right there, that was for using on the head camera around back. For the 2 little dark ones, those are on the sides of the head, here and here, the venting. Number 2 up here, that to me is the worst offender. That's from the sides of the forearms right here. That's a little hard to place over this particular part, and it is quite obvious that it is a sticker. Next up then we've got number 5. This is from the knees. These place on quite well. You wouldn't even realize these were stickers. And like I mentioned, number 6 right there, that is for the core unit, the flight fighter thingamabobber, which I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. Well, it's for the cockpit window on that. Overall, I have to say this is a ridiculously over-the-top looking kit befitting G-Gundam. It's extremely vivid, shiny plastic, and the overall design has been pulled off perfectly. It looks dynamic, awesome, and what else is there to say? Oh yeah, size comparison. So the vast majority of my gunpla is still packed away, so all I have for comparison's sake is Witch from Mercury kit. So there is Gundam Ariel, and there is the high-grade Gundam Rubris Ur. So now jumping into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the high-grade ROSE Gundam. We get a full action base in that nice clear blue. This is very unique. We've got the Chevalier Beam Saber as well as the scabbard for using with it. A bunch of effect parts for posing the ROSE bits. We've got 4 ROSE bits, and when it comes to hands, this kit comes with a grand total of 5, which is 2 pairs and 1 extended hand. Let's check them all out. So the ROSE Gundam right here comes with a grand total of 5 hands, which is quite a few. But the most interesting aspect about these is, these come on a runner that is labeled 2022, which is the G-Gundam Frame 1. G-Gundam Frame 1 suggests maybe a 2 and a 3, and that we're going to be seeing more kits in this G-Gundam line of high grades, with this awesome level of quality. So all those kits that you've always dreamed about, like the Nether Gundam and the Tequila Gundam, they're now more, feasibly gonna happen than we've ever had it before. So let's just hope we get those. So as for the hands that we've got in here, we've got a pair of holding hands. These aren't the usual type. These don't split at the back panel. These split at the fingers. So a little bit more awkward, I find. Next up in here, we've got a pair of fists. Now, these are dedicated fists, so they don't have the hole in them. Like I mentioned, it's a pair, so there are 2, and the sculpt here is extremely extremely nice. Lastly then, here we've got one widespread open hand, which is the right hand. This is very nicely designed, a unique sculpt definitely. I've never seen anything like this one before, but I will mention that it seems to be a little bit of a design faux pas here, because this is the right hand, as in the hand that lore-wise, the ROSE Gundam would use its rapier with, so it means you can't have a nice expressive hand at the same time as holding onto the weapon. But the reason for this more than likely is so you can actually have a pose more like this, which would be the ROSE Gundam drawing its rapier from the scabbard. And speaking of which, so moving on to the weapons, and the first weapon we have in here is the Chevalier Rapier, basically this kit's beam saber. We only got the one handle in here because it's only got one of these weapons, but I will mention you do get a spare blue beam in here, the old style chubby type, just in case you need that. If you remove the beam, you can then attach on the scabbard just like so. It attaches on like so. We've got two notches in it right here, and this is so we can attach the scabbard onto the side skirting armor like that, where it can rotate back and forth. And that hand right there matches absolutely perfect with the scabbard, so that is exactly what that hand is for. You can remove that off the top of the scabbard as simple as that right here. To pop it into the hand, you use a holding hand like so. The handle pops into the holding hand, and you pop the beam into the hilt just like so. Now the only minor complaint I have right here is that we don't have one of those cool hinged wrists on this kit, or one of those hands that's at a bit of an extended angle, which would be nice for a kit that uses a rapier. So the only real stabbing angle you're going to get out of this is this right here. A little bit disappointing. On top of that, when you do remove the handle from the scabbard has a peg sticking out of it, because of course it's a beam that goes into the hilt of this, so it does make sense that, you know, the scabbard would have to have the connection that the beam would have, but it doesn't look that great. But what does look really cool are these rose bits. They're essentially funnels or bits that are roses. They're a rose up front and a thruster round back. I will mention that the central aspect of these are meant to be in a yellow or gold, like you can see in the art right here. So these aren't necessarily 100% color accurate out of box, but they still look so cool. The detail's amazing. So when it comes to those rose bits, when these are in action, they look absolutely and utterly spellbinding. This is a statement piece of a high grade right here, especially when set up like this. But let's wind back a little bit as to how to do it. First off, you do disassemble all of the 4 flaps from the shoulder shield, just like so. You then grab the little stand parts, which are also the effect parts, so they're stand-cum effect parts in a way. Those attach onto the shield parts that we would have removed, and then on the very ends of those, where we've got that kind of vigorous thruster effect, you pop on your shield bits. Then you grab that stand that is included to build this all together. You attach 2 of the shield and rose bit setups together into 2 individual, what I can only describe as stalks of this rose plant that you're building, and you attach them onto the action base like this. Then you throw your ROSE Gundam onto the action base, and it all works out really, really well. It's very simple to do. There is only one way to do this. It's said in the instructions. You could mix and match the parts, but you mightn't get such a dynamic display in the end. This looks so, so cool. Honestly, I really do not want to move it from this position right here. Lastly then here, and I almost forgot about its existence, is the core lander. You just pull this out of the back just like so. There's a sliding mechanism here to bring the cockpit up, and that is what it looks like. Of course, like I mentioned earlier on, there is a sticker for the cockpit on it. That's the only thing that is not color accurate, but besides that, the detail on this is quite nice. We've got the same blue, the same yellow, and the same gray as we saw on the mobile suit itself. Also, I'm glad I took a look on the P-Bandai website really quick there, because it's not mentioned in the manual, but you're actually able to attach these directly onto the shield segments when they are attached to the shoulder. Once again, just using the exact same adapter parts. Once you get them all sorted out the right way, it should look a little something like this, and that is why we also have that big posed, or should I say pre-posed, pointing hand. This looks absolutely phenomenal. Maybe not as over the top as what we just saw, but extremely, extremely cool. So finally now jumping onto the articulation, and once again this is a plastic on plastic build, so it is well, it's an extremely solid kit. It hasn't dropped anything on me for the entire review so far. So thrown into that test post to test out all of the joints at once, and I have to say, the articulation on this is not spectacular. I had a few parts pop off, like the side skirting as well as the waist joint as well, mainly because I kept trying to push all of the joints, kind of feeling like there should be more here, but there isn't. There's a lot of nice points of articulation on it, but it is limited in a lot of points. The hips are limited, the knees are limited, the ab crunch is limited. There's a lot of stuff going on up at the shoulders which do block some of the articulation here and there, but you will get some nice basic poses out of it, just nothing completely over the top. It's about par for the course for a high grade. Just in case you're curious, you can pop off those shoulder parts. They do pop off very simply. We've got a bit of a keyhole shaped peg attaching both of them, which does mean, I assume, these are 100% swappable. So you can have this on the other side if you want, or if you want to build a variant of this with symmetrical shoulders, either the large one or the small ones. But that's what it looks like without those. So that will, well, not really get you much more articulation than when they were on there. A little bit more up into the T-pose kind of way. But besides that, articulation is good, not really fantastic, but you'll get what you want from it. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade ROSE Gundam, and I'm gonna go with Gold Tier. This, at its core, is a spectacular Gundam kit. The only real letdown with this I find is the articulation could be a little bit better, but I do find with these built from the ground up premium Bandai kits, they tend to go more for the looks and the features over the overall articulation, and at the end of the day, I don't really blame them. Visually, this looks fantastic. It's got vivid, bright colors, hard, thick, shiny plastic, and this looks undeniably perfect for the ROSE Gundam. Accessories-wise, you have everything you'd need and more. The only thing I could complain about with this is the scabbard having that little peg bit, but that is it. Otherwise, you've got a full stand and a ridiculous display for using those ROSE bits. Finally then to the articulation, it is extremely good, do not get me wrong. It's just not crazy, but it will get you everything you want and more. And it's fairly solid too, just don't overstress the joints. As usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those awesome people over at BUYEE. If you do want one of your own, I'll throw a link down there in the description. As always, make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time.